American Water Polo.
Hi, this is Damon Newman from American Water Polo, and we're here today with Nikolai Malezanov from Washington and Jefferson College. Better understand the recruiting process. How you doing, Nikolai?
I'm doing well. How are you?
We're doing our best. We are holding up. Given the times we're in right now.
Yeah, I know. Same here, and trying to keep some sanity and at least some quality time with family, which is always appreciated.
Yes. I was thinking that today too. I was making an early dinner with my son. He's 2 years old, and we were trying to make it together. So that's something
Absolutely.
you can't get back, right?
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about yourself and W&J.
So, as you mentioned, I serve as the head coach for both men's and women's water polo program at Washington Jefferson College. I've been coaching for 20 years now. Obviously, born and raised in Serbia, and I started coaching there and came to States. And I was graduate assistant at Salem, coached at Navy for a couple of years, and then Pittsburgh Water Polo Club and North Allegheny High School, and now W&J. Last, I want to say 12 years, I've been involved with USA Water Polo and different roles with different national teams. And last 4 years, I've been serving as the cadet boys head coach for Team USA. And looking forward to our first official FINA World Championship that was supposed to happen this summer. It's still not canceled, but the odds are slim that it will happen.
Right, and that would run in conjunction on kind of a lead up to, well, I guess since the Olympics, but that's like your Olympics, I guess, on that level to a certain
Yes,
extent.
that was the in the past there was always different international tournaments that we participated and did really well. But this was was supposed to be first FINA official world champs for 16 unders. And we were preparing for that. And we'll see if it happens. But as we said, it's probably not likely.
Well, if you don't get to do it this year, I'm sure the opportunity will present itself in the coming years.
Yes. The process has been a while, and it's been giving us good results, and we have no doubt that next time we'll have a chance, we'll do well.
Right. So how does a recruit, if there's a prospective student athlete out there, tell me a little bit about the process of the recruiting process at W&J.
So I've been lucky enough to have a big network of friends and acquaintances in water polo in both high school and club level. So I would say my success in recruiting comes through direct relationship with coaches, and then with players and parents. With coaching ODP and different, and I coached club before in Pittsburgh and help out even now. I still have connections direct to coaches, and that helps me reach or find players. I can't say that W&J or any other small D3 school is a place where athletes or student athletes overwhelm us with reach. So coaches still have to search and reach out. And I think we do that through the network that we have. I also use some of the recruiting websites out there.
Okay. So if student athletes looking to potentially be word of mouth, coaching, recruiting websites, questionnaires on your website.
Yes,
Sure.
so, I would say all of those, absolutely.
Okay.
And all of those are a tool for prospective student athletes and myself to get in contact. Once we get in contact, then it's easier. And then there's different ways that we can learn about each other, meaning about the water polo program and the school itself on one side for the athletes, and then for us coaches to learn um, more about them, their character and skills and all that.
So, kind of coming to that character question, what are some of the traits you're looking for? You know, the character traits that stand out to you when you are talking to a PSA.
Yeah, so it is pretty difficult to assess character through just simple conversation. Obviously, a lot of it can be told from that conversation you would have with the prospective athlete, but a lot of background check as well is necessary. Talking to coaches and some mutual connections that we have through some different athletes or players that are already on our team. But what I'm looking, number one thing is for someone is to share the passion for water polo. That is an absolutely must. If somebody has learned to love water polo, that person has learned to be flexible, to be um, um, giving their best every time. We know that water polo is not always the most organized field, and some adjustments need to be made all the time. So somebody that um, uh, uh, doesn't need to be pushed to practice. Somebody that absolutely loves the game and studies it and watches random YouTube water polo videos. It's how I determine their passion for it.
Right. So,
If they have heroes, if they know who the national team players are, that is a sign that somebody has done more within water polo than I would say an average high school player.
so you're looking for basically passionate, self-motivated student athletes who, as a former coach myself, it is hard to say that athletes are going to take it as seriously as the coaching staff, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And then I am a big believer in year-round training. Obviously, right. Division 3 that is not possible. So somebody that's self-motivated means that in the off-season time they will find a way to not only stay in shape but improve through workouts and learning and all that. So I think that is number one. And as you know, that we face various levels of opponents, and therefore we do have room for players with different skill levels at our team. So as I said, as long as they're shared at passion and they're hard workers, we will do our best to kind of try help them develop as players and obviously as people. So
excellent. So you as you kind of go through the process, you've been doing this for a number of years on the collegiate level. When do athletes usually when do they usually reach out to you? Obviously, I know there are there are NCAA rules where the initial contact, but are athletes reaching out freshman, sophomore, junior year? How does that work here for W&J?
I would say for W&J usually junior year athletes is the best time
Okay.
to reach out. Many of them are not sure what they want to do with freshman and sophomore year and what school they want to go to. So if they do reach out, it's very wide and networking that they are reaching out to, which is fine, legitimate, and it's good for the athletes to be seen.
Right.
I would say the junior, especially spring of junior year, is the time when most of my contacts start to develop, and so kind of preparing for the fall and late fall for visiting and all that. So that would be as far as myself goes, that would be the best time.
Excellent. Now, when you do have these athletes contact you and reach out, how would you recommend an athlete, say, prepares for a phone conversation with you, or say, their preparation for maybe an unofficial visit or even an official visit?
Yes. So where when after a couple exchange emails, I would say, which
Okay.
will be initial contact. If we both determine that there's an opportunity for our team and the student athlete, a potential match, I would say, then we schedule a phone call. And when we schedule a phone call, it's usually to accomplish a couple of things. Number one is for the student athlete to learn more about our school
Okay.
and our water polo program, and about myself as a coach, and also for myself to learn more about them as a player, as a person, and see how we fit. Uh, I always recommend that uh, family members, parents, can get on that first call, just so they can listen on it, or talk as well. Um, the the reason I say that is because in this generation, I think I don't want to say parents are too involved, and I don't say that in the bad way. I just think that's how today's society is set up. That parents have a lot to say, and rightfully so.
Right.
Usually, the athletes that we recruit are not in the neighborhood. And when I say that, they're not one town or two towns over. They are all over the place. Couple hours worth of drive to a few hours worth of flying. So not many of them are very familiar with the school. So I just always feel like reaching to a random kid somewhere, talking to a random person. I always feel the parents should be there for their first conversation.
Right. So you do, like you said, you invite parents in. The athlete should have, there should be some initial uh,
Yeah.
interest on both levels.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and then I usually ask that after I talk about their school, I ask them about themselves, what their roles are on their team, uh, uh, what their strengths or weaknesses are as a player, also strengths and weaknesses as a character, I would say.
Okay.
And I also enjoy when they have questions for me. So I know I talk a lot, as obviously you can see now. And I feel I share plenty of information about our school and our program. Um, but I always enjoy when they have some questions
Good.
as well.
Yeah. So they come prepared for two-way conversation, so to speak.
Correct.
Excellent. So as we have as of right now with the COVID outbreak and we mentioned earlier the potential for that large tournament you're coaching in for the national team. There could be a potential for some of the larger tournaments, to be canceled. Who knows what that's going to bring. But if that were to be the case, how would you suggest the PSA be seen?
Well, there's two ways I would say to approach. And one will be, as you mentioned, to be seen, and that is obviously a video that they have from before,
Right.
whether it's a highlight video or a full game video. I think coaches have different uh, perspective on that. Some say they want to see the full video, just because they can then obviously judge someone's abilities when they play a full game, so they can see their um, good moves and good moments, but also bad moments and bad decisions, which are naturally part of the game. Um, I find those hard to watch just because they're sometimes too long. And but also it's hard for the athletes to edit and kind of circle themselves on that video, so it's hard to track who's
So
who.
would you
And
suggest maybe, would you suggest something like they send a full game, maybe a really like a couple minute sequence of clear,
yes, I would say
something along those lines?
you can tell if they say this is my game and I'm white cap number 4. It's crucial for us to know that we can see that number 4 and track throughout the video. If they sometimes send full game video, subs happen, they come in and come out, and
Right.
you might be watching a game when they're not even in there. So I think that's if that's approach, then I would say shorter sequences when they are in the water, when the cap numbers are clearly visible. I enjoy highlights video as well. Obviously, 30 seconds or 40-second segments when you can see the build-up of the good moment is important. We, as coaches and college coaches, we can tell if you're playing against a team that your team could have scored 30 goals if they wanted to. So highlights against not very skilled athletes are not very helpful. So if someone is to make highlights video, that should be against a relatively competitive team that we can clearly see that good moment came out of the effort of the athletes we're evaluating and not from a mistake or lack of skill of your opponent.
Yeah, that's a good piece of advice. If you are going to put together a highlight film, make sure it's against a solid opponent, because like you said, a team could put up 30, and an inferior opponent does not make you look necessarily that
Yes,
much better in the eyes of a college coach.
absolutely.
So you talked a little bit about, we just talked a little bit about some of the larger tournaments. Where do you do most of your your off-campus recruiting
So
in a traditional year, I guess?
yes, so I try to go to many big tournaments as I can. Obviously, JO's is one. It is easier for me to do some spring tournaments. So I would go to Michigan, either regionals or state tournament if I can. Couple of the invitational tournaments in Illinois make sense. I went to a Stevenson last year. The reason I can't say we go to local Pennsylvania tournaments just because our the men's season is in the fall and usually on the same day, and we couldn't attend pretty much any of the high school Pennsylvania games. So therefore, it's hard to get to those. Summer events are very helpful. I know a lot of coaches who go. I know the National State Challenge is a big tournament that a lot of teams come, and a lot of those athletes are willing to play in college. Myself, I was just not able to national team stuff to attend the last couple of years, but plan to do in the future.
Sure. Like you said, you're in a unique situation. Not all head coaches, coach a men's and a women's team. So you not only have to, you're recruiting, 12 months out of the year, but you're also coaching your athletes, I would, conservatively 6-7 months out of the year. So it makes for challenging.
So that's what I was going to go through the other approach for this time of recruiting, which is kind of skill verification,
Right.
what I want to recommend for especially juniors or upcoming seniors that they're going to be, if the big tournaments don't happen, they will not have the opportunity to showcase themselves over the summer, whether that's the combine events, whether it's the JOs or some other different club tournaments. But the recruiting process still has to go on. So other than video, I would say a very nice and well put resume with references.
Okay.
I think it's the key. So even when us as college coaches, I would say for myself, even if I watch a game at JOs and I watch a certain player, he or she might not have the best day on that day, and I don't want to disqualify anybody for a bad game. So talking to the coaches, their high school and club coaches, sometimes is more valuable than just watching the game. So when someone reaches out to college coaches with the well-prepared resume, I would say references that are there for us to talk to, like college coaches and high school coach, or club coaches or high school coaches, is very important, that they can verify or tell us the truth when we talk about.
Right. So if you have someone who might not necessarily have the opportunity to be seen at those larger tournaments, or doesn't play at say one of those larger clubs, you would recommend basing a really good resume, getting in some good film, but and also being proactive in the recruiting process.
Absolutely. I think being proactive is a key, and I think a lot of the water polo coaches have big number of athletes reaching out, and some have assistant coaches, some don't. So sometimes it's just hard to keep up with all the information that we receive, and occasionally we might miss an email.
Right.
So if a college coach doesn't respond within timely manner, I do feel that myself and all the colleagues are very responsible and well-mannered. So we respond to emails. If there's no response in a couple of days, I would say, or week goes by, please email again. And I promise you, your emails will be returned, not just from me, but I can speak for other coaches as well.
Excellent. Yeah. So being proactive and understanding that, some coaches have, different recruiting methods, and some of them are busier than others, I would say, to a certain extent, depending on how many genders they coach, and as well as what their staff might be made up of.
Yes.
And how many kids they have running around outside.
Yes, that too. So
Excellent. So take me through, what's life like for a student athlete at W&J, for say, a student athlete looking to potentially reach out to you. What's life like there on campus?
I would kind of differentiate the 2 seasons. Like for the women's team, the water polo season is in the spring. So the fall is their off season. So the difference is that I would say the spring sounds like or looks like almost like a high school setup of a season for an athlete, meaning during that time they go to their classes, they do their workload, assignments and essays and tests on one side, and live and breathe water polo on the other side. So their attention is to the sport. They train, they travel for games, and that's kind of the mindset that we have while in season. Obviously for women in the spring, and for men is in the fall. And then the off season is when they have a little bit more time, and when obviously the schoolwork doesn't stop, it still goes on. And as far as water polo goes, they have a little bit more relaxed schedule, and they can fit their practice times on their own because they're practicing by themselves. So those kind of the main things. We practice in the afternoons. Usually the classes are done by 3:30.
Okay.
And we afterwards, and they have the evening to socialize and to study.
Excellent. What so if you have a PSA out here watching this video, like what should the next step be if they're interested in W&J?
Absolutely, the next step would be to reach out via either a questionnaire on the website or email. I would say for not just W&J, for all the other colleges and the water polo programs, the coaches' emails are listed on the website. Every team has a questionnaire that we and coaches definitely read through. So just make sure that those information get to us, and then after that we would just get into regular contact. And I always say that once we get to the next step of recruiting, we usually switch to text. So the initial contact is definitely email, but once an athlete is considered as a recruit and has done or about to do a visit or something like that, then we usually switch to text messaging.
And that is just because probably that's just the way the method of communication that's preferable for.
I would say just because they, as you know, we can all witness, every single one of them has a phone that they spend a lot of time on, and
Right.
If they miss an email, they won't miss a text.
Right. Gotcha. Excellent. Well, Nikola, it's been a great conversation. I really appreciate the time, learning a lot more about W&J and obviously the recruiting process in general. This is Damon Newman from American Water Polo. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and our website, AmericanWaterPolo.org. Remember, it's important to stay connected to what's important to you.